I wanted to show you my sides are getting weak. So you can tell that what they were doing was thinning my sides. So you can see that. And I wanted to show you guys that. So in the previous video, they corrected me and were like, you said this is like a pressing oil, but you didn't say it's a pressing oil. It's definitely a pressing oil. It's pressing oil. This is like they say it here as a formula, and I don't want to like confuse matters, but this isn't like considered like that kind of old school pressing oil. But this is how this was supposed to work. They would hide around and correct me, and that I'm supposed to get so upset, and that I'm gonna supposed to stop what I'm doing and prove that they're wrong. They said that was my personality trait. But if you're causing and manipulating people into having a certain personality trait, like mental illness or arguing, then that has to be exposed. If I'm not normally someone who's going to argue or have a personality trait of having to prove myself, unless you folks are talking to me and interrupting me and doing something else to me that causes it, then that isn't my personality trait. That's your manipulation. So I got a comment, and I'll put it up at the top, that said, hopefully I was involuntarily committed into a mental institution. What I did on Friday, last Friday, was call the police and said I'm having a mental stress time. Not like a nervous breakdown, but like a mentally stressful time. They were talking about child sexual abuse, talking about celebrities, and it just got to me. And you guys know that's something I really feel like is the most horrible thing you can do to another living being, is sexually abuse that person, because that belongs to us. Our bodies are ours. No one should take it. Anyway, so I called the police, and they were like, "Do you realize what you're saying? We would have to get a psych evaluation on you, like a psychological evaluation on you." I said, "Yes, and I want that." And he's like, "You sure you want that?" "Yes." Well, I went. There's nothing wrong with me. They said they have to let me go. They have to release me. I'm fine, but if I want to, I can speak to a therapist and get like regular, like talk to someone. Not that night, but they would call me with a list of people, and I said I want that. So clearly, I'm not mentally ill. What I'm saying isn't a lie. I'm not in any way going through a psychological breakdown, even though for me it's very mentally stressful. So for me, I would feel like it's more mentally stressful than other people who are professionals would think. Does that make sense? So when I was going to discuss this, the people talking were like, it wasn't, they just said it wasn't involuntary. It was, yeah, it was voluntary. I felt stressed out. When you talk about child abuse to me, it just stresses me out. I just can't do it. You know, they're talking about, I have a degree in psychology. That isn't social work, but I wouldn't go into social work. I just couldn't do it. I think they just said something out loud. I think the horror that a little human being would feel, it just, it can't. I can't. Okay. Anyway, but part of this goes back to them manipulating situations. Had I not been mentally stable, even though I feel like I'm not, I really do feel like I'm going through something psychological. They could have manipulated it into making it seem that way, just like with this, with it, it's so easy for people who have this technology to manipulate victims into having the appearance of mental illness. So I would have, if I had been mentally ill, would have been like, it's not the same as a pressing oil. And part of this becomes, if what I love about this, I really love this, is that the way it makes my hair feel. Like I don't want to do like a hair video, but like it's this. You know what I mean? Instead of being that slick down look, which is part of what I was saying. Like I didn't want that slick kind of, stiff hair. I want it more like this. So I will go back to doing hair videos. It was so bad that one of the wonderful nurses at the psychiatric unit gave me something for my lips because my lips were all chapped. I mean, they look chapped now, but I really would. Let me tell you something. Had I not gone through that experience, I wouldn't have known how positive it was for me. It was really a positive experience for me. So when I was doing these videos, the people talking, like, especially when I did this hair video where I talked about this, they got really upset. It was it this video, was it, it could have been that video, it could have been the castor oil video. They got really upset because they said they didn't like the attitude I had. So had I been the type of person who wasn't recording myself, I would have gotten to a point where I started to say to myself, like, maybe I did have an attitude, maybe did, and that would have been part of what would have made me more emotional. But when I went, for me, it was very positive for me. I felt that the people were kind, and that's a big deal, kindness. And even just giving me something for my lips made me feel like that made a difference. So the people talking are like, is she gonna recommend? I would not. I'm not giving advice. I don't understand how they always turn what they do into what I do. That isn't what I do. But if I do it, I'm doing it in front of a camera with my name. They aren't. And that's part of this. Part of what I'm saying is that how is it allowed that people can do something without being held responsible for their actions? That is not normal. So that is what happened to me during the time I wasn't on YouTube. That was just Friday. But as some of you already know, I was so sick. It started out like my nose was running, I was sneezing, then it got to my chest, and then I was coughing up um, uh, stuff, and I was just so sick. And after it started to get better, that's when I said, let me just make sure I'm not having some sort of a mental problem on top of the physical. And I wasn't. But I'm, they just said something. I'm happy with the kindness that I was treated with, which is part of what I wanted to say. That in the psychological, I don't know if it's called psychiatric unit, I was treated with kindness. And that made such a difference to me. Thank you for watching.